Real estate agents could be your biggest ally when making a move, or your worst nightmare and cost you thousands. In this video, I'm going to expose some red flags for you to keep an eye on to make sure you avoid those toxic agents. So I've been fortunate enough, I get a lot of people that come to me and they've had prior experiences with other agents before, and I get to listen to a lot of their stories. And simply just recently, I had someone come to me and they were referred to me from an agent they've used before, but they had started working with someone that they simply just met. And that agent was not listening to them and was pushing a property on them. They voiced that they didn't want that property, yet the agent continued to reach out to the buyer's lender and try to prepare an approval letter for that property, even though the buyer said no to it. It really gave them an uncomfortable feeling that the agent wasn't considering their best interests. Now, what I want to kind of talk to you is kind of referencing on that right now for the landscape of what is going on in real estate, because it can really apply to you. And I really promote making sure you interview at least 3 agents before making a connection with anyone. It's really imperative you do so. Now, a big thing I want you to consider when interviewing agents is consider the profile and the situation, the motivation of the agent, of where they are in their business and in their life. Now, NAR has a profile of the average agent. Now, I'm not going to go into the demographic side of things. We're just going to look at the financials, because an agent that's been 2 years or less, on average in the United States, makes about $8,000. If you're 16 years or more, your average is about $92,000. And that's, again, nationwide average. 68% of agents are understood to make anywhere from 0 to 100,000. That leaves 32% making more than 100,000. Now, that's before you consider that they're all setting aside taxes, they're all having expenses, whether it's printing, it's travel, and most notably that people forget, health insurance. I can't tell you how much I spend on health insurance every year because I'm an independent contractor. I don't get access to group insurance like I would if I was at a company. All of these expenses sit on realtors when we're trying to consider the balance of income versus expenses. Now, a recent report that came out suggested that about 74% of realtors in the United States did not complete one sale in 2024. Just resonate for the minute. Almost 3/4 of realtors in the United States did not complete one sale. So that's not 92,000 of the year, that's not 8,000, that's $0. Now, they've got expenses that have gone out, undoubtedly. Now, there's 1.5 million, roughly, realtors in the United States. That would suggest that 1.15 million agents did nothing in 2024. So when you're talking about connecting with an agent, think about what the likelihood is that you're connecting with an agent that did nothing or did little to nothing. And now, what is their motivation going to be when they're counseling you on buying a home or selling a property? Personally, for me, I think it's imperative for you to have an understanding of this, because ideally, you want an agent that is not thinking about commission or their paycheck or what their financial side of things are when they're counseling you on making a decision with your real estate transactions. So consider, how many sales have you completed in the last year? You know, what's your experience in the last 6 months? Because these things can really drive on what the motivation of an agent would be. Just touching back on that story at the beginning. Would that agent, for example, have pushed a property if the buyer's wishes and desires were fully listened to? Personally, I don't think so. An approach I take, I always start with a detailed buyer consultation to understand exactly what we're looking for and have a partnership with the buyer. So there's an understanding of, you know, how many properties we're going to see, what's the timeline, what are we really looking for, and I show them exactly the history of what I'm doing, how much I'm doing, so they can understand that I'm not looking at trying to do something to close a sale next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks from now. It's about finding the right property, not getting a property that fits my timeline. Now let's talk about sellers. Sellers, really important you dive into what are the practices that your agent has to market the home. Where is the home going to be positioned? More importantly, how are you presenting the property to the market? I really hope you always find someone that is using high resolution photography. High resolution photography, not iPhones, nothing like that, is the only way to make sure you're giving the buyer the best online experience to present the home to them. Now, obviously, you can use your iPhone if you wanted, and I see it all the time for people out there, and it certainly is a low-cost way of doing it. And maybe in your agreement with them, it's a super low-cost deal you have. But I've generally found you put your best foot forward and you get the best results. You use the better photography, you provide the buyer with the better experience, you tie that with a virtual tour or a floor plan, the buyer understands the property more, and also online algorithms appreciate more information than others and push those properties in front of buyers more than just a basic set of photos. So make sure you're inquiring as to, again, how is the property going to be presented? What tools do you use? What am I expecting to see when I go online to see my property that another buyer is going to see as well? Here's my third item for a red flag, and really, there's different opinions around this. So this is just simply my opinion. You might have an agent that works with buyers and works with sellers. Now in Texas, that would be placing themselves as an intermediary, as a dual agent, where they can't really provide counsel to either side, but they can help both parties move through a sale. Now, for me, I don't like the idea of my buyer or my seller leaving the sale with a question mark of, did they really counsel me with my interests in mind? I never want that question around. So personally, for me, I never really practice dual agency or intermediary setup. I like to make sure that the agent, that an agent can be referred to one side of the party, and I'll look after another side. Now, if two parties come to me and they already have all their terms and agreements made, we have a detailed conversation, I don't mind working through that part of the contract if it's just managing some paperwork. But when there's negotiation being involved, managing a sale, managing the inspections, how the condition is conveyed from one party to another, if there's anything in there where there is consultation needed, that is where I really think you want to be making sure you've got your own private, personal counsel and your own realtor for that. Again, just my opinion, but most issues I hear online and through other agents is when dual agency is involved, it's a slippery slope to potentially a lawsuit. All right, so those are a few things and few red flags to consider when trying to avoid a toxic agent. Now, obviously there's more examples out there I can give. I've got more stories. I don't necessarily want to put all those stories out on a public forum, but if you have questions or if you're going through an experience or you want to share an experience you had with me, please reach out. Love trying to make sure I can help you guide people to great quality agents, and also, understand people's stories to give a better experience to my future clients as well. Real estate is a lesson of stories from what experiences buyers and sellers have had previously to know what to promote and avoid going into the future. And if your agent's not giving you stories from their prior experiences as well, probe them, ask them, make sure you have some questions. How have you handled this before? How would you do this? What has someone done this before that you've worked with? I think it's a great opportunity to do that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please reach out if you have any questions. Head to leecalverttx.com if you want to message me directly. Hopefully, you have a great experience regardless. And if you need a connection wherever you are in the country, on my website, there's a little referral request. I can get you connected to a great agent wherever you are. We'll see you soon.